Okay, we're live streaming.
Okay, we
Still got a minute anyways.
if we got all the planning board members that they need to have on,
Rob Steinberg is on. I'm chairman of the planning board. And I'm just looking across to see who we have on here. We have John Stabile, Sheila, that's 2.
Pat O'Reilly.
You see Pat? Okay, so we have 3. Yeah, Pat. So we have 4. That's enough to do what we need to do tonight. Thank you. And Tony, we can follow the same process as last time. I have the minutes, so I can run us through that if you want me to.
Yeah, when we get there.
Yeah, I understand it's gonna be.
I was thinking, yeah, we'll have to do them individually, because the seats are for different term lengths, so
Right.
we'll do them individually. But
we all set?
yeah, I see Mark.
Mark?
And
I
I thought I
saw
saw
George.
Josh. Oh, there he is.
I'm looking for the our cheat sheet with the actual motions and so on. Did that get sent?
Yeah, she sent it this afternoon. Want me to take it, Josh? Opening comments?
See one at 12:47 today.
Could have been.
Well, I'm not seeing it, so maybe
All right.
you can do that, Mark.
Okay. Let's see. This is an open. We're going to open the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. We need a vote on that.
Yes. Seconded?
All those in favor?
Josh Antrim,
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye. Planning Board. Rob.
Here, I'll call the roll for the planning board. Cal Hastings. Sheila Hamilton.
Here.
Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm here.
Shannon Bianchi.
Here.
Steve Viviano. And John Stabile.
Here.
Thank you. Back to you, Mark.
Hey, thanks. It sounds like you have a quorum. Should I do the opening comments first and then we'll get into the joint meeting?
Mark, have you do the motions and have Josh
Okay.
do the opening comments.
Okay, I think Josh is looking for this.
Yeah, I can't seem to look at the cheat sheet, so
I'll do that, Josh, for you.
Thanks.
Okay, let me announce that 2022 resident parking stickers available. I don't think we need to talk about parking stickers at this point, right? They're available if you still want some. There's still a few more beach days left, so you still get your parking stickers online. The composting area open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 2022 resident sticker required. Visit nahant.org for a list of accepted materials. Recycling for metal, white goods, TVs, computers. Is the last Saturday of each month from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. behind the DPW on Flash Road. 2022 resident stickers required. Visit nahant.org for more information and required fees. Farmers Market, September 17th and October 15th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Flash Road Park. Visit the Farmers Market page on nahant.org for a vendor's application, volunteer information updates, emails can be sent to ktaylor@nahant.org. Yeah. That will bring us to, Mr. Chairman, the joint
Planning.
vote on the planning board.
Right.
Could I make, sorry, could I just make one quick other opening comment?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to remind people that the library, Nahant Public Library, is hosting 2 programs this Saturday. The first one is at 10 o'clock. It's a program put on by the Mass Audubon on butterflies. There'll be a brief presentation, and the group will be invited to search for butterflies in the garden behind the Costin residence at 369 Nahant Road. And then at 2 o'clock, there'll be a presentation on the building restoration project that is in process. And the artifacts in your library, excuse me, project will be presented at the library. So I just wanted to mention those 2 events at the library this Saturday. Thanks.
Good catch, Josh. Thank you.
Josh, did you find the backup motions?
Sorry, what was that, Tony?
Did you find the backup?
No, I did not.
In that email from Kristen at 12:48, it's the very last PDF attachment. I
Okay.
just forwarded it. I just re-forwarded it to your email.
All right, thanks. I guess it was the PDF that threw me off instead of the Word file. Yeah, okay, sorry.
It threw me off.
Yeah. Okay, I have it open now.
Okay. So the planning board opened their meeting, correct?
Yes, they have. They've opened their meeting.
Okay.
And what we'll need to do now is start off with a motion to nominate each candidate and then make the motion to vote on each candidate.
Right.
I can do that. I move that the Board of Selectmen nominate James Dolan as an alternate member of the planning board.
Second,
May I speak? Is this for the 1-year term?
that's a good question.
Because we have 2 positions open, one a 1-year and the other a 2-year.
This would be the.
Is this the 1 year?
This would be the 1 year.
1 year. Thank you, Tony.
Let me restate the motion then, Tony. I move that the Board of Selectmen nominate James Dolan to fulfill the 1-year term as alternate member of the planning board.
And I'll second that.
All right, this is Rob Steinberg, Chairman of the Planning Board. I hereby move to nominate James Dolan for the 1-year term expiring June 30, 2023. Would someone so move?
So move.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and with a vote is as follows. Cal Hastings is not present. Sheila Hamilton. What's your vote on James Dolan?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Patrick O'Reilly.
Yes.
Shannon Bianchi not present. Shannon Bianchi is present. Shannon Bianchi.
Yes.
Steve Viviano not present. Rob Steinberg, yes.
Okay, we have not discussed it, and we don't have to discuss it unless somebody would like to. But we need to move on with our making a vote.
Well, I'll just say James Dolan's resume has been sent to us, and it's got a great resume, and I think he'd be a great alternate member of the planning board.
Okay, all in favor?
Josh Antrim,
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen,
Next
Uh,
motion, Mark.
okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen nominate Michelle Capano for a 2-year term as an alternate member of the planning board.
Okay,
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, the chairman asked for a motion to nominate Michelle Capano to the 2-year term expiring June 30th, 2024. Would someone,
So moved.
Sheila, seconded by,
Pat.
Second,
I'm sorry, who seconded?
John.
Thank you, John. Okay, and then for the vote, Cal Hastings not present, Sheila Hamilton,
Yes.
Patrick O'Reilly,
Yes.
Shannon
Cal
Bianchi.
Hastings on the screen.
Oh, he is Cal Hastings. What is your vote? I'm sorry, I didn't see him. Cal? You may be muted, Cal.
Silent Cal.
Okay, we'll return to Cal later. Rob Steinberg votes yes. Steve Viviano not present. Cal, do you have your unmuted yet? Okay, we have a majority, so we'll just say did not vote.
You do, okay, we need a roll call vote on the selectmen side.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I didn't get a chance to vote on that.
I'm sorry, Shannon Bianchi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And
And then the selectmen vote.
Did John Stabile vote too?
John,
did I miss you?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, John Stabile's a yes. Okay.
We okay?
Yeah,
Selectmen now vote.
Yeah, so Michelle Capano is nominated by a vote of 5 to 5 votes. Go ahead and the selectman nomination now of Michelle
Yes,
Capano.
unless there's any discussion, I'll take a roll call vote.
Well, I'll just say that Michelle also has a great resume and has historically been very interested in participating in town politics or volunteership, I should say. And so we're fortunate to have Michelle as well.
I'd like to add too that we're very fortunate to have 2 great candidates. And I'm sure they'll act in a capacity much better than just an alternate. So thank you for signing up, guys.
So if the selectmen could vote.
Roll
Your
call
vote,
vote.
yes vote is to nominate Michelle for the 2-year term.
Josh Antrim,
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
All right, I believe next we vote to elect them. First, James Dolan to the 1-year seat. Do we have a motion to elect James Dolan to the 1-year seat ending June 30th, 2023? Would someone so move?
Didn't we already do that? We
We
did James
voted-
Dolan first already.
We voted to nominate, I think.
Right,
you
you're
have
right.
to
And now we're-
nominate and then appoint.
What's
Okay.
yeah,
So I still move to appoint James Dolan for a 1-year term.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, and Cal Hastings. Can you vote? Evidently, he's having technical difficulties. Sheila Hamilton,
Yes.
Patrick O'Reilly,
Yes.
Shannon Bianchi,
Yes.
Steve Viviano not present, Rob Steinberg, yes, John Stabile,
Yes.
Selectman. On the vote for the 1-year seat.
So if a member of the selectmen can move to appoint James Dolan to the 1-year vacant seat as
I move that
alternate.
the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint James Dolan as a 1-year alternate member of the planning board.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Go ahead, Josh.
Planning board want to go first on the,
Yes. So the chairman of the planning board asked for a motion to appoint Michelle Capano to the 2-year seat ending June 30th, 2024. Does someone want to so move?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Who was that? I'm sorry,
John Stabile.
John. I'm sorry. And on the James Zolan, who's second? And
John Stabile.
oh, same. Okay. And Cal, do you have audio to vote? All right. Sheila Hamilton, what's your vote?
Yes.
Patrick O'Reilly,
Yes.
Shannon Bianchi,
Yes.
Steve Viviano, not present. Rob Steinberg, yes. And now we go to the
You
board. of
forget me. You're forgetting me, Rob.
John.
Who's that?
John Stabile.
Oh, John Stabile, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. And then to the Board of Selectmen.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Michelle Capano as an alternate 2-year member of the planning board.
Seconded.
Unless there's no further discussion, a roll call vote.
Sandra, am I?
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
All right. I believe we've concluded all matters relating to the appointment of the 2 alternate members. On behalf of the planning board, we're very pleased that these 2 citizens have stepped up to serve in this capacity, and I think they'll provide very useful contributions to upcoming meetings. With that said, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board for purposes of appointing alternate members. Does someone want to so move?
You can
I
just,
so move.
you can just move to close the planning board.
Okay, so we're
We have other
moving.
business.
Okay, so I move to close the planning board. Does someone want to so move? Ask for a motion to close the planning board segment of this meeting. Does someone want to so move?
So moved.
And that was Patrick.
No, that was Shannon.
I'm sorry. And
That's
seconded. Somebody want a second?
Second,
All right. And we will try again to see if Cal is available. Unable to vote. Sheila Hamilton,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Shannon Bianchi,
Yes.
Steve Viviano not present, John Stabile,
yes.
Rob Steinberg votes yes. The planning board segment component of this meeting ended at 6:48. Thank you very much, planning board, for your participation, and appreciate the Board of Selectmen making this time slot available to us. So
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very
thank you
much.
very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've recorded the votes taken for that. If both chairmen can stop at the town hall at some point and sign this ballot, and we'll submit it to the clerk.
Okay,
I'm out of town. I will do it Friday.
Anytime you can come by, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll be by Friday. Thank you.
There you go.
okay, do we have a motion to close out our portion of the meeting, or do we stay on?
We don't
Tony.
need, I don't think we need to do that unless, Dan, you think we need to. I think
No,
can
we just keep going. We're fine.
Keep going. Okay, new business to review and approve the open space and recreation master plan. And I take it we have Paula Devereaux to take us through this, Paula?
I don't see Paula's name on here. Unless
Tony,
she's-
is there somebody else relegated to do that? Or are you going to do it?
No, we need someone from the open space committee. Let me reach out.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, there.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now, Paula.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties at home trying to connect, so I'm on my phone. And unfortunately, my camera, for some reason, isn't working. So thank you for entertaining this. My name is Paula Devereaux. I live at 4 Intervale Road, and I'm chairman of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. And we've done our task. We have been working on an open space and recreation plan. We've had numerous public hearings and public meetings, and we are now moving forward we have a draft of the plan. And in order to submit the final plan to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, we need the Board of Selectmen to vote to support the plan. So that's why I'm here tonight. And we submitted a draft of the plan to the Division of Conservation Services and the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And they had a few conditions which we've met. And now we seek to submit the final plan to EOEEA. And we're requesting the planning board, we're requesting the Board of Selectmen support. We have received the planning board letter of support. That's also a requirement. So we're here before you to request support from the Board of Selectmen.
I'm showing it on my screen now. Paula? And is there any page or anything specific you want me to show?
No, not really. It's pretty long, as you know, it's like 200 and something pages. And it has, it's really, it really goes through, it provides an in-depth analysis, not really an analysis, but it provides an in-depth listing of the open spaces in town. And you could open to the end of it where, I'm trying to find the exact page. Page 96 and 97 has a matrix of a 7-year action plan. And these are action plans that we've identified based on town surveys, meetings, and outreach that we did in order to determine what things needed to be done with all the open spaces in town. It's pretty comprehensive. I will say it's going to require some thought and prioritizing of the goals and action plans, but we think it gives the town a long-term roadmap of how to deal with its open spaces.
Well, Paula, I've looked at it and it's a pretty impressive document. As you said, it's long, 269 pages, but it's really well done. And it's pretty interesting to just look through it. There's all sorts of information beyond what's in the action plan, historical information, demographics, and all kinds of interesting tidbits. So congratulations to you and the Open Space Recreation Committee for doing a great job. And I just wanted to touch upon what you said about the long-term goals for our open spaces is so important for Nahant, especially with such limited open spaces. And I know that, my fellow selectmen feel the same way about our open spaces and natural resource districts. So I was really impressed looking at it. And as a lot of people probably know, it's a requirement to have an approved open space and recreation plan in order to be eligible for certain grants. So we look forward to taking advantage of that as well. We've been a number of years without having an approved open space and recreation plan. So it's a big relief to have such a great plan in place. So we're about to become in place.
Yeah, I would like to, sorry to interrupt, but I would like to thank the members of the committee. The members of the committee are Nancy Quintelmo, Ellen Antrim, Rebecca Durgan, and Trish Aldrich. And there were prior members of the committee that were instrumental in doing, in starting this and starting us on the path for this. I also want to thank members of prior open space committees, because we relied heavily on the 2008 open space and recreation plan, and that was the last one that had been formally approved. So, I wanted to thank Tony Barletta, Zach Taylor, planning board, lots of members of the community who spoke out, who took the time to, give us their concerns, their thoughts, their opinions, what they think needed to be done, and hopefully this plan does reflect all that.
Mark?
Yeah, a few comments. First of all, Paula, thank you and your committee members. I've been involved in several of the last open space plans, and by far this is the most comprehensive, inclusive plan that I've seen. I really appreciate the extent that you and your committee went through and engaging the community and participating in this plan. It's very well done. Whenever someone produces a document of over 200 pages for Nahant, you can be sure that it's comprehensive, and certainly is. And Tony and my other colleagues on the board here, I in terms of the action plans related to this plan, I think we could look at it next year in terms of integrating it with our goals and objectives as we proceed over the next year. And I think that would be it's something that I'd be very interested in trying to pull into, particularly you and Zach's goals and objectives for next year and the years coming. So thanks again, Paula, and thanks for your committee. You spent a lot of hours on this, and I appreciate it.
Hey, Paula, I'll just parrot what Josh and Mark are saying about how well done this was and the amount of work and effort gone into it. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome all. And I also want to give a shout out to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council and Courtney Lewis, who helped us put it all together, especially with respect to graphics and presentation and how it looks. And he really did help us edit it. There's a lot of information, and he helped us prioritize, organize, and edit it. And his help was invaluable as well. I also want to go ahead and just report on people. I think people may have seen what's happening over at Bailey's Hill, and that's one of the things that was spearheaded by our committee, along with the Community Preservation Committee. And we're starting to hopefully work on some of the action plans by getting rid of invasive species and helping to maintain and improve the heritage trail in the vicinity of Bailey's Hill. And I want to thank Tony and Zach Taylor for their invaluable assistance with that.
I'd like to also remind people that we've got another group that's probably bred from your actions, is the Friends of East Point, who are working on something similar up there, not an open space plan, but dealing with indigenous and invasive plantings and species. It's really great to see in town. It's fabulous. Thank you. Thanks again, Paula.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. You guys have done a great job with this, and we'll put together a letter of support and statement of approval, tomorrow, so that we can send it over to you and get it submitted.
Do you need a motion
Great,
on that?
thank you.
I think, did you guys, you guys should motion to approve the open space and recreation plan.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the open space and recreation master plan.
Seconded.
Discussion? I guess we've had that. Roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
All right,
Okay,
thank
we're
you
gonna
so
move
much.
on.
Thanks, Paula.
Thank you. Thank the committee.
Thank you. We will.
Further motions here. Mark, do you want to go with them?
Josh got him now. Go ahead, Josh.
I
Josh, you
move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Kristen Kent as the Conservation Commission agent effective September 7th, 2022.
Seconded.
okay. What I'd like, if we could, if either of you gentlemen would yield the floor, is to have Tony give us just a little background on this and what Kristen's intentions are and how this will proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so Kristen Kent has served on the Conservation Commission for many years now as chairperson of the commission. She will be moving out of town this month and therefore would be ineligible to serve on the commission as a member. Her full-time occupation is a conservation agent for at least I think multiple communities, but I know for sure one. So, having her in town and having her be a member of the commission, we never really needed an agent, so to speak, because she pretty much filled that role. Whereas she's going to be moving out of town, I wanted to formalize this position for her so that we can remain, keep her involved in the community. She will be, there to help advise the commission. Won't have the ability to make motions or vote on things, but will be there to advise them, and also she'll be able to enforce, our Conservation Commission related bylaws, such as the wetlands bylaw, the stormwater bylaw, and things of that nature. We have the funding for this position comes right out of the conservation revolving account. So, which is built up of funds received from cost of permits and things of that nature. So it's a self-funding position, doesn't come out of our general fund, and she's more than happy to take it on.
Tony, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I think, we've all seen Kristen perform over the last number of years, and she's been outstanding, and I fully endorse this. One question, Tony, and I think I know the answer to it, but you've had the foresight of putting this in the salary classification plan.
Yes.
So this is something that the town has voted on and approved at previous town meetings, and we couldn't get a better candidate than this. So I fully support it.
Yeah, I agree. And, having an enforcement agent is something that we've been talking about for the 3+ years that I've been a selectman. So I think it's a needed role, and I think Kristen's the perfect person for it. I think, it's one thing to have laws laws in place, but we need a little bit of teeth and on some of these things, and I think Kristen is perfect for that.
Having spent 15 years on the Conservation Commission myself, it's most appreciated, not only the effort, but the level of expertise that she put into this. And keeping her on board like this, Tony, is great move.
Yeah, she's been invaluable to the town. So appreciate all of your support on this, and with a positive vote, that will also I'll also say that Kristen will be creating, with her departure from the commission, it creates a vacancy. We'll put a public notice out there that we'll be looking at attempt to fill her shoes on the commission, which will be tough to do. but there will be a vacant seat and be looking to appoint somebody to the Conservation Commission in the near future.
Excellent. Roll call vote.
Josh Sanford, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye. Josh, you going to continue in those?
Sure, we're gonna make a proclamation of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month proclamation. So I will read it. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection Report Cancer is the leading cause of, excuse me, I didn't say that right. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection report cancer as the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15. This tragic disease is detected in more than 16,000 of our country's young people every year. An estimated 400,000 children and adolescents are diagnosed with cancer globally each year. And whereas 1 in 5 of our nation's children loses his or her battle with cancer, many infants, children, and teens will suffer from long-term effects of comprehensive treatment, including secondary cancers. And whereas founded nearly 30 years ago by Stephen Firestein, member of the philanthropic Max Factor Cosmetics Company, the American Cancer Fund for Children, Inc., Kids Cancer Connection, Inc., and Lions Club International are dedicated to helping these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection provide a variety of vital patient psychosocial services to children undergoing cancer treatment at Boston Children's Hospital, Tufts Children's Hospital, Shriners Children's Boston, Dana-Farber Children's Cancer Center, Mass General Hospital for Children, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, hereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also support toy distributions, Laughter Noon, Laughter is Healing, positive appearance programs, pet-assisted therapy, KCC Supercar Experience, educational programs, and hospital celebrations in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among children in our country today. This tragic disease is detected in more than 16,000 of our young people each and every year. The Nahant Board of Selectmen are happy to proclaim that we recognize the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month to bring awareness to this disease.
Thank you, Josh.
Sure, so that is our proclamation.
It's incredible. I know myself, I haven't been in the hospital at Dana-Farber for an extended period of time to see these young kids in the hallways or being stretchered. It's just, it's heartbreaking. It's incredible. Thank you. Mark,
All right.
Josh,
Yeah, okay. This is a vote to set the trash rate. I'll read the motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the FY23 trash rate and abatement outlined in the document titled Town of Nahant FY23 Trash Rates and Abatement.
Tony, you want to give us some,
Yes,
Should we second that?
oh,
I
second.
second it, yeah, sorry.
thank you very much for the opportunity. We've been working on this for a few weeks. We've been trying to, figure out the most equitable distribution as we do on an annual basis. With the increasing cost of trash over the last few years, we've tried to really figure out a way to make this distribution of costs as fair and equitable as possible. So this year's trash rate comes with an increase to $380 for a residential 1 unit. It multiplies, a 2-family is twice that. A 3-family is 3 times that. Obviously, it depends on the type of account that you have set up with the town. If those are 3 separate accounts with the town, then they're getting 3 separate individual bills for the individual rate.
Tony, is it,
Commercial-
sorry, is it simple for you to share that small document, summary
I
document?
thought, I'm looking at it as if I was sharing it already. Hold on.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry about that.
no problem.
So what we look at is what's the population in town? How many living units do we have? How many persons per household? We look at the Essex County average of this. We look at how many amount of commercial units we have, calculate the population using the trash service. The biggest cost of our waste enterprise account is the curbside collection cost of waste management services. There's still a cost associated with keeping the beach clean, keeping the beaches clean, keeping the parks clean, emptying the trash barrels, having dumpsters at the DPW, having bulk collection and other types of hazmat collections and things like that. And obviously the cost associated with the personnel to manage all that. But the biggest cost comes with curbside collection. And a lot of that is overhead costs when it comes to waste management, which trickles down to us. A lot of that overhead, I'm sorry, what I meant to say was a lot of that overhead cost is what led to a significant amount of the increase this year. Fuel went up, labor went up, everything kind of just went up. And unfortunately, the market rate for recyclables went like steady, flat, a little bit of a decline. So if the way that our contract works with waste management, if the market value of recyclables goes up, then our overall cost goes down. Unfortunately, it had the opposite impact. So when it comes to trash, the truly the most equitable way to handle trash, cost of trash, is to do a pay-as-you-throw type format or system. It limits the amount of trash that you're allowed to put on the curb. When we went through a couple of years ago, when we looked at our process and we put it out to the public, a lot of the response we got was residents in Nahant enjoy the ability to put out as much trash as they want. They don't like the idea of being limited. It is pay as you throw can be quite complicated, and in our community, we didn't feel it was absolutely necessary at this time. So the closest next step to figuring an equitable distribution is to estimate how many people live in each unit of housing. So that's what we do. We use an Essex County average and the big long formula of how many units we have and our total costs. Our in yellow there, the $565,000. That's our target. That's how much revenue we need to bring in through our trash rates in order to, meet our costs. So that's our goal. And we go through this whole formula, and that's where we ended up with a $380 fee, which is an increase from last year. I think last year we were 365, I think, or 364 per R1 unit. So it is an increase. It's still, just a little bit over $1 a day to have unlimited amount of trash at curbside collection. And then for abatements,
It's like a 4.4% increase.
elderly are eligible for a 30%. So if you qualify for the elderly exemption for the definition of the assessor's general law, you qualify for this 30% abatement. Nonprofits have a 30%, nonprofit and government, so like the housing authority would fall under that too. Get a 30% abatement. If you have a private trash haul, if commercial properties have a private dumpster or private collection, they're eligible for 70% abatement, because 70% of the total cost of our rubbish account comes from curbside collection services. So if they're not utilizing the collection services, they only really are responsible for 30% of those costs. We also included a $20 abatement for anybody that's a member of a compost collection service, such as Black Earth. So we estimate these abatements and build that into the formula as well.
Hey, Tony, along the lines of trash collections, people have asked, not often, but have asked, will we at some point go to the barrel similarities that other communities have, similar to our recycling barrels, but probably a different color?
We have, so like Swampscott does a very small trash barrel, and essentially their trash costs are built into their taxes. But if you have more trash that needs to go on the curb, that would then, that can't fit in that small barrel, you have to buy a certain type of trash bag that has the seal, it's a certain color, and they run for like, anywhere from $2 to $4 a bag.
Do you pay for the extra service or just the bag itself?
You're paying for the bag, so they won't collect anything else. They won't collect any other type of bag. It's basically, you're only allowed to put what's in that what can fit in that trash barrel. That comes, as a cost of your trash service. And then if you have more trash, you have to buy the bag per bag. That's a good way to encourage more recycling. That formula or format was really pushed hard like a decade ago when the recyclables market was extremely valuable. Now it costs almost as much, if not more, to get rid of recycling as it does to get rid of trash, because the foreign markets have just either cut us off, increased their standards, or have become so expensive. So we could, that being said, we certainly could look into purchasing uniform barrels like we did for recycling. The effort on the recycling side was really to encourage, not only encourage recycling, but encourage or discourage pollution. A big issue that we have in Nahant is with the amount of wind that we get in Nahant, every time we put out recycling, it would blow all over the street. So that barrel really allows us to kind of, if you've noticed, there's a lot less pollution and litter on the streets since we switched over to those barrels. It also allowed us to switch to a automated collection service with waste management, which equaled less labor and less cost for the town. So that's why we switched to that, but certainly we could look into doing that for trash. We'd have to figure out, what's the size of those barrels and how many does each residency get, for free? Do you charge them for an extra barrel? Or are you trying to limit how much trash gets put on the curb? So there's a lot of the devil's in the details, so to speak. But certainly, I certainly enjoy the look of having the uniform barrels. But I know that the residents enjoy the freedom of, unlimited waste.
Yeah,
So
you've done your homework on this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hold on, Tony. Got a couple questions here. First, I think you've done a great job in breaking this down. I think it's extremely reasonable cost for the average taxpayer in the Nahant, considering what you get for it. And we're not limiting ourselves in terms like Swampscott did. I know there's a lot of issues over there regarding that. So I think everything is working out pretty well. One thing that I'd like to look into in the future, though, is the black earth, the composting, the food composting. I know that some communities have contracted with black earth, where they set up a centralized collection area, because a large cost of black earth is that it's curbside, so each person who participates has to put it out on the curb and they have to go pick it up. Some communities have made an agreement with black earth where they have a centralized deposit in town, and that people bring their black earth bags down there and leave it there, and black earth will pick it up at that collection site, and it's a lot less expensive because black earth can be a little pricey, but I'm certainly interested in it. If we could somehow reach out, I know Newton does it, I think Brookline does it, there's a few other communities that do that. I'd like to look into that. You know, I get disgusted about how much food refuge I put down the drain every day. I'll put into my garbage can every day. And that also contributes, I think, to perhaps some of the rodent problems, some of the coyote problems, that people are putting food products in their trash out in their backyard. Just the smell of it alone can attract
It's also the most weight. So when you're getting charged per ton from waste management, reducing that material has a positive impact on our overall cost.
I would really like to try to make an effort next year of exploring that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people in town that would participate at perhaps an additional cost, but less than what Black Earth is charging for curbside pickup. If we could have a centralized deposit, so every Saturday you bring your food waste down to wherever you set it up, and Black Earth picks it up that day. So I would like to look into that.
Okay.
Mark, is that a separate company? Is it like Waste Management, but it has a different process?
Yes, it's a separate company. So, you know, I don't know what the procurement laws are around that, Tony, but you could look into that. I mean, there may be other companies that do that composting. I'm not sure. But you can reach out to some other communities that are participating with them now and figure out how they did it.
I know Vi is, her and I had some conversation about it last year when we introduced that $20 abatement option.
Mhm.
And I
Which
think
is a good step.
um,
A good step, but I think we can do better.
I think at that time she said the town had about 70 residents that were involved in Black Earth, and if we got to 100, it made us eligible for some type of agreement like you're talking about. So, yeah, I think a conversation would be the next step, because and Vi should be involved because she knows it best.
Okay. Maybe I'll have a conversation with her about it and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we?
Any other
Hey,
questions
we-
about the
we
trash
need
rate
to-
or abatement?
Vote on the trash rate. Roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark, Cullen,
Gene Canty, aye.
By the way, I'm forwarding Vi's email from a few months back about the Black Earth stuff to you
okay.
all.
Next motion.
Just hit the send button. All right, so you got that information on the discount for Black Earth.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from May 4th, 2022, June 1st, 2022, and June 15th, 2022.
Seconded.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen,
Now, I'm suggesting maybe we just do the events all as one motion.
Did you vote, Gene?
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought I did. Gene Canty, aye.
Uh,
That's how it's.
You had
listed
we had
on-
a quorum anyhow.
Yeah, so we have two events combined here. Maybe that's enough. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the following event requests. Women's Softball Fall League from on Sundays from September 11th, 2022 to November 13th, 2022 at the Lowland Softball Fields with games starting at 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. And Johnson School PTO Halloween Bash on Saturday, October 22nd, 2022, starting at 4 p.m. at Flash Road Park.
Second,
seconded,
third,
Um,
roll call vote.
All right, there is a little discussion to read off here. The players for the softball will not park in the Lowlands parking lot if it is a nice beach day to ensure that there is ample beach parking for residents. It will instead park in the parking lot next to the fire station to walk over. FYI.
thanks, Josh, and I just want to also add on the discussion that, Tony, you did a great job in straightening those fields out, the new backstops and the benches, and it really looks nice down there, and the DPW does a great job preparing those fields, and you know, it's we're lucky to have that area where people can have fun. It's always good to come back at the end of the day, driving in the heart, watching people recreate and having fun down the ball field. So it looks great down there. Good job.
Is that part of the regular summer league?
No, this would be new. This is a fall league.
Okay. Nice idea.
It's hard, it's really, the issue in the fall is playing weeknights, you don't have the sunlight.
Right.
But playing weekends in the summer months, you don't have the parking. So the fall gives you the opportunity to play on the weekends, you get the daylight and you get the parking.
Great idea. Roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen,
Gene Canty, aye.
Some liquor licenses to approve. So this is a combined motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve a one-day full alcohol liquor license for the American Legion Post 215, 96 Nahant Road, Nahant, Mass. 01908 for the following events. On Friday, September 6, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the Hoompa Nickel Road Race Runners Reception, and Saturday, September 17th, 2022, from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the Hoompa Nickel Road Race and halfway to St. Patrick's Day Party. And authorize the town administrator to sign the one-day liquor license document.
seconded,
Discussion.
Sounds like a fun race.
So I don't know if I need to say very much about this. Certainly appreciate the town's support, and I would echo Mark's comments about how great the DPW is in taking care of things, and even all the departments, the police and fire, and looking forward to our race and helping us out with that. But the Hoompa Nickel Road Race this year is dedicated. I want to remind everybody to Master Chief Maurice Coolin, who obviously served in World War II, saw massive action, more than a lifetime of action of any veteran across the oceans of the world, delivering service members to war and bringing them back home. But last year, this is an important fundraising event for us, where we support our welfare fund. Last year, the money raised helped replace an elderly veteran, replace their oil tank. So they basically went half the winter without heat because they were proud and didn't want to say anything to anybody. So we participated as part of the community and several other organizations to help with that. And then we also helped two very inspiring young people who, their veteran fathers and grandfathers, were no longer with us, and being able to help them get off in life and their journey. So great fundraisers this year. We'll continue to support the welfare fund with the race, as well as we're partnering with the NPT, the Nahant Preservation Trust, to help raise money to replace those boat room doors that are, well over 100 years old, that need to be replaced in our historic life-saving station. But would value the community support in running, walking, volunteering, or donating towards the cause. And of course, these liquor licenses support those efforts for those times that we're open on Friday and Saturday for the race. And then it just so happens to be halfway to St. Patrick's Day, which the public is invited to sign up to participate in as well, where we'll be back to a corned beef and cabbage dinner that we haven't been able to do because of COVID for the last couple of years. So come on down and sign up for that. But I appreciate your support of the community and the board.
Hey, and we appreciate certainly the effort that you guys put into making all this happen. You do a great job. I'm sure
I heard a number of you selectmen ran in this race in the past. So, there is a walk available for you now if you don't feel you can run anymore.
Walker.
Mark was always ahead of me.
And Josh ahead of me, probably. It goes by age, Chief.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think Mike Cullinan is hoping to maybe pull out a win this year. We'll see. He's been training hard.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it. And what's really nice to see is American Legion and NPT, how they get together and collaborate on all this stuff. I remember the day when, you weren't at the life-saving station. Now that you are, the collaboration that you have with NPT is really great. And, I know that you credit a lot of your fellow members, but you in particular have grabbed the baton here and really made all of this happen. So I appreciate all your effort, Bob. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that. It definitely is a team effort and a collaboration. And, we're excited about where we're at with our partnership with the NPT, and, look forward to the future. I mean, it's the life-saving station is part of what defines Nahant, and we're committed to it. And I've got my USS Nahant shirt on. We've got new t-shirts. Anybody wants to come down on Friday night and buy a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Roll call vote.
Josh Entrum, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye. Where are we here? Ongoing business. Do we have any ongoing business?
I only have one point, Tony. Could you give us a very quick update on a housing production plan, where we sit with that?
So yes, absolutely. We received funds through the CPC for to do a housing production plan. And we also submitted, actually the day of town meeting, we submitted a grant to the Executive Office of Energy Affairs, a planning grant to assist us with getting compliant with the future MBTA multifamily zoning requirements. We luckily received that grant, and we're essentially hiring the MAPC to help us with both efforts. I've had a couple communications with them already. We've kind of outlined the process. It will be a long one, and there's many steps to go. Just recently, and I think it was at our last Board of Selectmen meeting, I gave an overview of the MBTA zoning guidelines that came out from DHCD, and those just had come out like that day or the day before. So when I spoke with MAPC last, They said, give us some time to, digest the new guidelines, and then we will meet again and kind of talk about what the next steps are, and maybe if we have to amend or adjust that future schedule, now that we're going to be, formally including that other segment into the planning process. So I don't have that next meeting scheduled yet, but I suspect it'll be in the upcoming weeks.
Great. And we'll be setting up a committee on our own to work on this.
Yes, yep, there's going to be a committee. It's part of the process. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Part of this process is to set up a committee on our side of, elected officials, appointed officials, residents, who are interested in this topic, and to kind of help us get through the process, go through the public process, stakeholder input, and eventually finalize our plan.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I will, hopefully I meet with them before our next selectmen meeting, and I can provide a little bit of a more recent update.
Thank you. Comcast contract renewal.
Dan, do you want to lead us on this one?
Sure. We have actually 2 renewals coming up in terms of our cable services. One is Comcast, which is the one that's actually currently overdue, which is actually kind of normal. That's not unusual at all. And the second one is the Verizon contract. And there needs to be some parity between the two, because they're sort of an agreement that they contribute equally to the different fees that come along with these licenses. So at some point within the near future, we need to have a hearing pursuant to the Cable Act that will allow citizens to come before the selectmen and either praise or discredit Comcast's job over the past 10 years, which is the lifespan of their lease. And after that hearing, if the selectmen are convinced that Comcast has earned, so to speak, the right to have its license renewed, then we can do that. Some of the moving parts that we don't have to decide on now, but we have to keep in mind, are what they call the franchise fee, which we actually do not charge Comcast at the moment, because I believe the iteration of selectmen that voted on the contract 10 years ago did not want to be responsible for increasing the cable bill, which a franchise fee would do, because it's a pass-through. If we ask the Comcast folks to give us $10,000 a year, well, they say, fine, we'll just increase the cable bills, and you get your $10,000 to do with whatever you like. So as of now, we have no franchise fee. PEG funding is another big issue. Currently, we get $45,000 per term of the lease. I'm sorry, of the license, not per year, per term of the license. And we can increase that if we think we need some more cash for that purpose, or we can decrease it, whichever it is we think is appropriate. And there should be some discussion with Pedro in that regard, since he's the one that sort of handles that. The third thing is a senior discount. We currently don't have a senior discount. And I remember Richie was sort of trumpeting for one years ago. But now we're at a point where we can insist that one's included, if not in the lease, and in the side letter. And there is a standard discount. It's not very much. There is a standard senior discount that Comcast does offer that we can insist on in these negotiations. The last thing that I call a moving part is the free basic cable to town buildings, which we currently enjoy, and we have enjoyed for years. And everyone, all the municipalities have them. Well, an FCC ruling has called that into question, but it hasn't been finalized yet. So to the extent there is a need anymore for basic cable in places like the fire department, the public library, things like that, well, we need to negotiate that a bit stronger. That being said, though, with all the internet services out there, I'm not even quite sure free basic cable is used much at all in our town buildings. Maybe the Johnson School, but I even doubt that. I did check with most of the folks that run those buildings. I think I only got one that said, yeah, we kind of use it every now and again, but for the most part, it's really an empty asset. So those are all things that at some point we should discuss with some intelligence at the hearing that we need to notice, 2 weeks beforehand in the Lynn item. And then once we do that, we can finalize negotiations with Jay Summers from Comcast. And not, on the heels of that, we can finalize the negotiations with Verizon too. Attorney Harrington is handling those. So that's where we are there. There's no decision to make tonight. It's just some things to think about moving forward.
Dan, a thing to look into as we get ready for that is, I think it's probably related to the PEG issue more than anything else. Now that we're doing a lot of Zoom and trying to integrate our Zoom presentations with a public channel, is there any way of, what are other communities doing regarding to that? With that, is there more funding available for that?
Well, we can ask for as much funding as you like in terms of the pay, but again, it's just a pass through that they send off to the customer. So I think we want to be wary of that. But I can look into the idea that what the intersection between Zoom and PEG channels are, if any. PEG, of course, doesn't allow you to interact like Zoom does. But that's a question I can answer. That's an answer I can find for you.
Okay, great.
We used our PEG funding to purchase the Cablecast subscription that allows us to broadcast from Zoom to our local TV channel.
And,
Those
and
are
the
one
other
time
thing,
fee.
that's great. The other thing, Dan, if you could ask prior to our next meeting, Comcast and Verizon, if we could have either a printout or some information. They're required, I believe, to record all complaints over the years. So I'd like to see if there's been the number of complaints and the types of complaints for either Verizon or Comcast before
Both,
we
I can
decide
do
on
both.
what.
Okay, no problem.
That's all I have.
Okay, that's not a problem at all, Mark. I'll get that done.
Can we trust their tracking on those?
Well, they're required, I think, Mr. Chairman, by law to do that. So, there may not be a lot of them, but what there is, if people had enough of a concern to call them and log a complaint, I'd like to know what they are.
Right, okay.
And that's what the hearing is for, Mark. I mean, that's a great lead into the hearing because that's really what the hearing is all about. You let people give the opportunity to speak publicly about your enjoyment or their displeasure with Comcast and eventually Verizon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we need a, Tony, are you going to take us through the green communities,
Yes.
please?
Yep. About a month ago, we were notified by the Department of Energy Resources that our grant application for a competitive green communities grant was approved. It's now public from the state, and I would ask that the Board of Selectmen would vote to accept the grant award. The total amount of this grant is $103,863. $30,220 is for the fire station to install an air source heat pump. $18,125 is to the DPW to install an air source heat pump. $46,076 is for the Johnson School to complete the phase 2 portion of the internal lighting conversion to LED lights. And $9,442 is for administrative assistance of the grant.
You need a motion on that?
Yeah.
So moved.
Well, I'll read it. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to accept the Green Communities Competitive Grant Award.
Seconded.
Further discussion?
Congratulations. It's a nice grant. The heat pumps will reduce power consumption going forward, so an added benefit there.
Excellent, Tony.
Yeah, all these items help us reduce our carbon emissions and then also reduce energy costs for the town as well. So it's a great program. This is our second. We originally got a designation grant. Then we got a competitive grant. This is our second competitive grant that we've received from the state in this program. So it's served the town well so far.
Great, thank you,
Yes.
Tony. Thanks so much for the effort that you put into this. It's well worth it. The return is there. Roll call vote.
Josh Hedrum, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
We have an update on the Northern Strand extension.
Yes.
Tony's going to show that.
So I have received the plans from MassDOT, the 70% plans. First, I'm going to share a picture that is available on our website. This is the concept of what the Northern Strand Bike Lane plans to do. From Market Street to the Rotary, the proposal is to remove a vehicle travel lane and install a separated dedicated bike lane of two-way bike traffic, extending all the way to the Ward Bathhouse at the beginning of the causeway. So that's a concept of what the stretch along the Carroll Parkway looks like, or would look like.
Tony, a question, and I never asked it today. What's the timeline on this?
I don't have a timeline. They're at 70% design. So, and I believe they have the funding. So I don't want to guess on the time frame, but I would say that, they're not far away from getting to 100% on their design. And I believe they have the funding. But I think our next step is to organize our thoughts and our comments, which we've already provided, but don't seem to be included in the most recent plans, and set up a meeting with the state officials that oversee this project, and we can get that information from them.
I think specifically a concern of Nahant citizens is losing the dedicated third lane that leads into the Nahant Causeway. Right.
So can you see the plans on
Yeah.
the screen?
Mhm.
So this, I'm gonna work my way backwards, so to speak. This is the causeway here. This is the right turn into the DCR facility, and across the way is the Ward Bathhouse. So this is right before you get onto the causeway. This would be the end of the bike lane with a a flashing signal here that basically goes red, or I think it goes red when someone's in the crosswalk or in the bike lane crossing. And then it works its way, towards the Rotary. And it's not on, at this point, at the very end here, it's actually off-road. It's on the grass next to, the ball fields and the basketball courts. Until you get to the entrance to the Rotary from the Linway. So it's on the northbound side that they would be eliminating a bike lane. And just as you get to this entrance to the Rotary is where it pops off of the road. We participated in a and before I get there, this dedicated lane extends all the way back to Market Street.
And Tony, this is multi-directional, right? North and south?
Yep, bikes can go in both directions on this.
This is gonna be an interesting scenario.
Certainly, you know, so we've expressed our concerns in public meetings. Mark, I know you attended a site visit, you know, on this. What was that? You think about a year ago, maybe?
About a year ago, and I mean, I think where you see where they make that turn off to open up the Nahant Lane, that was a result of our site meeting when we said, you know, if you could push that back so that you're not taking it, and they seem to have done that. But even if they could push that back even a little bit further, you know, I think that we're working, as you said, Tony, under some constraints here. They're at 75% design. I've been involved in enough of these state projects that when they're at that level of design, and this is a go. And we also know that our neighboring communities, landmen, are supportive of this design. So I think the best we can get out of this is probably some tweaking of what exists. I don't think you're going to be looking at any other major changes to what you see right here. But if we could pull that back a little bit further, closer to the entrance, to the Lynn housing, that driveway, that would help, I think. But I don't think you're going to get much more than that out of this process, to be honest with you.
If you can see this, it's a little bit of a mock-up on it of something we could suggest to them where they peel that back and make it jump off road a little bit earlier.
Earlier.
As you get to the rotary.
Mhm.
Mark, you're a cyclist. Is all of this effort being put into this going to work? Is it going to make this a lot safer and a lot more convenient for bicyclists?
Well, Josh is more of a cyclist than I am, but I can tell you, I've rode this all the way to Everett, and there are sections of this that are just phenomenal. I mean, it's beautiful. When you're going over the Revere Marsh and into that area, it's just beautiful. They've done a great job. The land in the Nahant section here are the last remaining portions that need to be fixed. I think it's going to have, I mean, I'm an advocate of this, I will say. You know, Tony had originally said that couldn't we put it on the other side of Linway? And I thought that was a great idea, but apparently they didn't buy that. And we're stuck with this. I think it's a net benefit. If we can get a little more concessions out of them, that would be great. But I look forward to it personally. I think it's going to be nice.
I just hope it doesn't create the kind of traffic situation that I think it'll create.
Yeah, I'm worried about that, Gene. You know, obviously support the idea of a bike path, and I'm also relieved to see that if the bike path leaves the road before the rotary, but I agree it would be nice to pull it back even further. And you know, the 2-lane, making it 2 lanes from Market Street to the approach to the rotary, it worries me about the traffic. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody that commutes, not just from the Nahant, but Swampscott and Marblehead, you know, what's it going to do to their already awful commute? Maybe nothing, but I know at one point, Tony, you had the idea of blocking off a lane and seeing what happens to the traffic for, you know, a week or something like that. I don't know if that's possible, but
Well,
I think it's a good experiment. I don't know if DCR would support such a thing, but because once you take a lane away, it's never coming back. You know.
So we kind of did it with our sewer project.
Today we did it.
For a month.
Yeah, but at night though, right?
No, we took that entire lane from Market Street to the Rotary, it was reduced. That was reduced down to 2 travel lanes for a
Yeah.
whole month.
Okay.
We only did work at night, so then it reduced down to 1 lane. But otherwise, it was always down to 2 for a whole month. And, you know, definitely got a lot of complaints, you know, about the traffic and all that. It's, you know, it's not, the state, I don't, you know, when it's a temporary disturbance, it doesn't provide the same type of feedback in their mind because people are not used to it and they know it's going away and they're just waiting for it to be over versus something permanent. Now, certainly, you know, we would make the argument that it's going to increase traffic, especially, you know, with the new developments along the Linway. You know, we're looking at this as unsure of when the porthole, the old porthole property gets developed. We don't know the timeline of that. There is a long-term overreaching goal to turn the entire Linway, north and southbound sides, into 2-lane traffic. You know, so from basically when you get, you know, to continue 1A, it's 2 lanes all the way from the airport to the Linway, and then it goes into 3 lanes on the Linway. So, you know, the goal is to continue that 2-lane travel all the way to the Rotary. The issue is that by doing this other end of the Linway first, you're creating a bottleneck and a temporary, you know, severe traffic issue because the other portion of the Linway isn't going to be 2 lanes for, we don't know what the timeline of that project is. So, you know, I think we have some legitimate concerns. We were obviously pretty active in that community meeting. As Mark had mentioned, I think there are some smaller concessions that we might be able to request and receive out of this. I don't think moving it to the other side of the Linway is really on the table, or moving it off of this side to anywhere else. I did want to mention another small concession that I've talked about a little bit here is when you are, what happens now is the traffic caused on the Linway and around the Rotary is actually being caused by this pinch point here. As you're exiting Linshore Drive, there's a pinch point where, you know, 2 vehicles can get through here, but most of the time they don't because it's very tight. And then, you know, left lane is to turn towards Nahant Street and right lane is to go towards Linshore Drive. So another concession that we could ask for them is to peel this island back a little bit to create this, to have this space be a little bit larger and extend that left turn only lane further back so that this 2 lanes of off ramp from the Rotary doesn't get pinched here. And that'll help reduce some of the traffic that gets backed up all the way around the Rotary and up the Linway. So that's one thing. And then of course, you know, taking the bike lane off of the Linway a little bit earlier would be the other. And then lastly, I would say, you know, some sort of insurance, some sort of foresight on, you know, ensuring that bikes are not turning right off of the bike path and just heading down the causeway, and making sure they're doing something to signage or whatnot to keep bikes off of the causeway.
Tony, is the city of Lynn scheduled to do any storage work or utility work on the Linway?
Not that I know of. There's there's a lot of utilities. I mean, there's a lot of work going on over there in the future.
Okay, any further discussion? And thank you for that. Thanks for taking the time to put us through this.
Thank you.
Pickleball group.
We get the MBTA bus stop update first.
I missed that. Tony, again,
Okay, one more. So we're working with the MBTA to make ADA improvements at bus stops in Nahant. And the next, we did the one at Little Nahant. The next one is at Willow Road and Wharf Street. So at the intersection for the wharf. This is at 30% design. So there's plenty of time for us to make comments and make adjustments to the MBTA on this plan. Fairly simple. Currently, the bus stop actually is here in the median, in the island, in the middle of that intersection. And there are no ADA curb cuts, there are no crosswalks, and there's no sidewalk here. This is a garden bed where the current bus stop is. So it's extremely problematic. So this design would, it would move the bus stop to the sidewalk here on Willow Road. It would change all of this sidewalk to cement, as well as this side and these corners. Install ADA ramps at the crosswalks and install crosswalks at all these crossings. This will also, not only will it brighten up the intersection, but once you then in the summer months install those center line crosswalk signs, it'll really slow down traffic in this area too.
Hey, Tony, are there plans to put in ADA curb breaks at all the corners that should have them?
The one just right here where you see it. So I don't know if you can see my mouse.
What I'm concerned about, like the corner of Summer Street and Willow Road, which needs curb breaks.
That's not part of this project. That's identified as an issue with our sidewalk analysis and across the entire town.
Is that ongoing?
This is an effort
Okay,
related to the MBTA bus stop.
thank you.
So I just wanted to present this 30% plan. Get any comments from the selectmen or the public. Basically tell the MBTA that they can move forward, getting to a 50% or 70% design, and start if going through whatever permit process and public process we have to go through.
Tony, I looked at it pretty closely. I think it's fine with me. Have you had a chance to talk to some of the abutters down there at all?
Not yet, but we'll have to do a butters notice
Okay.
once we go to the next step. So that'll definitely be part of the process.
Okay. It is a difficult area. I walk it with kids all the time in baby carriages, and turning into the wharf. Some people don't know which side of the pump station to go on or whatever, but I think it'll be an improvement, and certainly new sidewalks there would be great.
And it's completely free to the
Yeah.
town. I mean, this has to be, I don't know, Mark, $30,000 to $50,000 worth of work.
Oh yeah, it's big time. I mean, look at what you did at Little Nahant. I mean, it's that type of thing. Twice the size of that project. So, I think it's a great idea. I would, if I were you, I would try to meet with people at the Rockledge and those condos there. Make sure they're on board and know what's going on, and think there were just two other really direct abutters. I guess Mike Devereaux and maybe Sean Antrim and Mike, what's his name on the corner?
Mahoney.
Mike Mahoney on the other corner.
Yeah, people have definitely asked about getting crosswalks in this whole kind of complicated intersection, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can show you quickly what the current intersection looks like.
That's the best, yeah.
So this is where the bus stop is, right here, into this bed. And there's, like I said, there's no crosswalks whatsoever. When you go down there and you look, the corners, there's no cuts, there's no ramps.
Right.
So there's really no safe place to even roll a carriage off of the curb or step off of the curb.
Looks good. Looks great.
So, no, I don't need a vote, but if you guys are good, I'll let the MBTA know to kind of take us to the next step.
I had a question.
Yes.
Brendan Bronick, Olmsted 2 Summer Street. Actually, two questions. One is I noticed on the Summer Street side, the arc of the sidewalk in the road is slightly different. It seems that it's filling in part of the street now. Is that change in that arc of the street a problem for the fire department and making that turn through that area?
So are you talking about going into the wharf?
Yes, yeah, between the sidewalks, the crosswalks, it looks like the arc of the sidewalk is now taking up more of the street.
Yep. So we'll take a little bit more of the street, but we're going to cut down the corner of that island to maintain that width of that roadway there. Because I did talk to them, not just the fire department, but a lot of boats, large size boats going in and out of there. So we're going to maintain. We might be taking some of the road in this corner, but we're giving it back in this corner.
All right. And then my other question, dealing with the pump station that's there, is there anything about getting access to the pump station that's going to be impacted, or we could make an improvement while they're doing this work?
We did talk about that. It's a good question. There are some manholes on this side that we may need to move, but it shouldn't be too problematic the way that this is designed. But yeah, our DPW superintendent was part of these conversations, so they were aware of what was underneath the road in that area.
Thank you.
What's following up on Brendan's question, the radius from Willow Road into Wharf Street, is there some defined radius? Why did they change that?
It's the required width of the sidewalk.
Oh, so they didn't want to take it from the park?
Yeah, there's some trees on that corner that we don't want to impact. And I think there's a couple of trees. I know there's one right here. I think there's another one right in this area. But yeah, it's just kind of formalizing a nice curve in that spot. Doesn't look like much.
Yeah, it kind of did the same thing on the other diagonally across, kitty corner across. So it changed the radius of the sidewalk there.
Right, so that's property line issues over there with the private property in that space.
Okay.
EDA compliance requires a certain width of the sidewalk. So if you can't kind of take from the backside, you take from the road. But honestly, road dieting, so to speak, is the terminology, and shrinking the width of the road. It helps. It actually does help slow people down.
Yeah.
And in these spaces, it's only a matter of, a foot or so.
All right, looks great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the breakdown. The next is the pickleball group. Do we have the pickleball group here?
Corey, you're muted. Still muted. Corey, we can't hear you. It's not the mute button on your keyboard, right? Top of your keyboard.
Is the host unmute or no?
Hear you, Deidre.
Can the host unmute her?
No, I've asked, the most I can do is ask to unmute. So she should be getting a notification or something that says the host is asking you to unmute.
Right, she should. Thanks, just checking.
Corey, if you put your hand over your own picture, a blue button should appear. Not your hand, I mean your cursor over your own picture. You don't get a little blue thing up in the corner that says mute or unmute? Is there someone else that can
Hey
speak
Josh,
in
it's
your-
Michelle. I can jump in. Michelle Capano, 29 Ocean Street. So for on behalf of Cora, because she's having technical difficulties, the Pickleball Group has done a really great job at working with the town to get this pulled together, but they wanted to make sure that the pickleball courts are open to everybody, and wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that, and that certainly they're promoting the courts, and their lessons that are being offered that people can pay for. So it's something that folks can definitely take advantage of. They have a Facebook page, so definitely look them up on their Facebook page to get more information.
This is Sandy Burton.
And then,
Michelle?
thanks, Sandy.
Yeah, I want to back up just a little bit and say a few words, if I may, if you don't mind me interrupting. So,
No, please do, Sandy.
Some background story. The town rebuilt the courts with 2 tennis courts, and a small group got permission from Bean County to install two temporary pickleball courts adjacent to a single tennis court. So right now we still have 2 functional tennis courts. We also have in addition 2 temporary pickleball courts taped on the far tennis court. And this was just a stopgap measure to allow people to play pickleball in town this summer. It was done by this small group of committee members, Cara, Deb, and Dave Aldridge, and myself. So we thank Jean very much for supporting this little effort to get the pickleball in Nahant. And we hope to move forward next year with a grant from the CPC to turn one of those 2 tennis courts into a permanent pickleball installation. That's our plan. And we're going to go forward with that with the support of the town, hopefully. And also with the support of the townspeople and the town selectmen and administrators.
If I could jump in for a second, I don't want to take any credit where credit's not due. In order for this to get pushed ahead, required Tony's tacit approval to allow you to do the temporary lineage and netting. And so I think that Tony and I had a long discussion today on this again, because we were just talking about the popularity of the sport itself and what's happening in other communities. And Tony, you came up with what I thought was a good summary of how this should go. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Sure. I think that, I don't know if I would characterize it as needing my approval. You know, the funding mechanism for rebuilding the basketball and tennis courts was a CPC article voted on by town meeting. And the language in there didn't call out anything other than those, you know, tennis and basketball. That being said, you know, we've seen people enjoying the court, you know, for pickleball, a ton of use for pickleball. We've seen people, kids skateboarding. We've seen people using it for street hockey, hopscotch during park league, you know, you name it. Dodgeball, you know, so really a number of different recreational activities have been taking part down there, and we haven't gotten any complaints about it. So, you know, I think that any temporary adjustment to the court, so long as everyone's having fun and getting along down there, I don't see that as an issue. Any permanent adjustment or change, I think would need to go through the same process. And that's what we talked about, you know, back in the spring. And I've had that conversation with Sandy as well. So
We agree with that, and we would go to the CPC and put it to the town to decide what they want to do going forward.
Correct.
So right now, there's the temporary lines are down. I was down there at 5:30 this evening, and there was a bunch of people playing pickleball on the one court, and there were people playing tennis on the other court. And you know, that's as Tony said, that's what our parks are for, having fun. So it's nice to see people using the newly renovated park, and so it seems like we're all set for the time being, right? I think pickleball group has what they want, courts they can use right now. And as you said, Sandy, when CPC time rolls around, you can put in what you want. And I think this fall will be a nice trial period to see, you know, how much demand there is for 2 tennis courts at one time, or, you know, whether there's any conflicts. We can take it from there.
Well stated.
Hi, Pan Manatee, 122 Wilson Road. Can I say something?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Pan Manatee, and I've talked to the pickleball people about this whole process. And I don't know, Tony, if you can possibly share the CPC article that I attached from 2019. The 2019 Advisory and Finance Committee Report, Article 16D, to appropriate the sum of $160,000, consisting of $47,300 and $333 from fiscal year 2020 from the Community Preservation Trust revenues, et cetera, for the replacement or improvements to the basketball and tennis courts. And that's also included in the text of the recommendation from FinCom. I spoke to a bunch of parents tonight. There's actually a Johnson School open house going on, which is why a lot of the parents are not able to attend this particular selectmen's meeting. I have a real problem with what the pickleball people are now proposing. And I have screenshots from the pickleball group where we're all in agreement to share the town resources, the community resources that those of us who have lived in town, you know, we went waiting for over 20 years for these. And as I've said before, my son is 16 and he just joined the tennis team in Swampscott last year, and he was never able to play tennis at a court in Nahant unless he was the guest of someone at the Carey Street Club, or if he was taking lessons, paid lessons at the Nahant Country Club. My feeling is that, you know, if I have no problem whatsoever sharing the courts, but I have a big problem with a permanent conversion. When the pickleball people spoke at town meeting even about looking for resources to build their own courts. I have no problem sharing the courts, but I have a real problem if a town resource is converted permanently and taken away from everybody else in town who doesn't play pickleball.
That is not, as far as I know, Pam, that is not the case. There's no thought to converting them. In fact,
Mr. Sandy Burton just said that they want to permanently convert one of the tennis courts and that they're going to bring it up at town meeting.
That's right. So there will always be a dedicated tennis court. So your son can play on a dedicated tennis court.
I have to say that I myself went with my son this summer to go play tennis, and both of the courts were taken. So we couldn't, with people playing tennis, so we couldn't even get on the courts this summer when we went down because there are people playing tennis there.
It's possible we need as a scheduling system that are readily available to make it easier for everybody to find a time to play.
I would just like to know why you're not moving forward.
Excuse me,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
Sandy and Pam, thank you both for your comments, but please address your comments to the board.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. And I think communication should go through the board. But I just don't want to have, a argument going on and from person to person. That's not what the forum is for.
So I'll just say, I think the goal for tonight is to recognize that there are temporary lines and temporary pickleball nets on one side on one tennis court there, and that, we're publicly acknowledging that and blessing the playing of on those pickleball courts. The question of whether a conversion eliminates a tennis court or whether they are double lined for tennis and pickleball is something that would be decided later. Either through a CPC vote or, as I think I'd like to think of this fall as a trial period, see how it goes. And then confer again, as the CPC deadline approaches in December, after we see how this goes and think about, do we want a shared resource or two exclusive resources?
If you get involved in a shared resource, I took the time to go over to Swampscott and Marblehead, look their courts over. Of course, Marblehead's got 10 dedicated pickleball courts with lessons and schedules and everything else. Swampscott we have just done what Swampscott did, but they use permanent lines on 2 tennis courts at the end of their tennis court pavilion, and we have taped them. I watched 2 sets of pickleballers playing the game with the dual lines, having no problem at all. So maybe we can find a way to set this up so that both can be served.
Can I jump in, Mr. Chairman, for a second?
Sure.
The premise of this, I would have to agree with Pam. It seems the town meeting voted to have 2 tennis courts and basketball court. That's what they voted for. I don't view this as a decision of the Board of Selectmen at this point. This is a decision of town meeting. I am perfectly willing to sort of turn a blind eye if people are amenable to having a temporary pickleball court here until we get to town meeting. But ultimately, the design and the function of that area has to be decided by town meeting. That's what created it, and if something changes, town meeting should decide it.
Agreed.
And the pickleball committee supports that entirely. We agree entirely.
All right, sounds good. Is there any other pickleball comments? Maybe I'm speaking for you, Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Okay,
All right, have fun.
moving right along, preserving East Point.
I don't have much. I was just looking through my paperwork. I think the next hearing, which is on the Article 97 case, dedication case, is October 31st. I think that's the next official date. Beyond that, I don't have any updates.
Town administrators report.
Thank you. It's been a long meeting. I'll be very brief. The sewer project on the Linway, this week, they're making the final connections and testing the new line. Hopefully by our next selectmen meeting, I'll be reporting that they are, well underway in decommissioning the bypass. So we're making a lot of progress there. And then as far as paving goes, tomorrow at noon, we open our paving procurement bid. And this year, based on the paving plan and extra funds contributed to the town by National Grid for work for underground utility work. The street list for this year is Intervale Road from Ocean Street to Winter Street, Nahant Road from Spring all the way up to Pond, Castle Road from Nahant to Flash is part of this bid package, but it's actually going to be an alternate to be paved in the spring because they just completed the work on Castle Road, and you want to give that a winter for those trenches to settle. Nahant Road from 36 Nahant Road to Little Nahant Road, Walton Road from Wharf to 40 Steps Lane, Lafayette from Greystone to the end, Little Nahant Road from Nahant Road up to Howe Road, and Howe Road in its entirety.
Sorry, Tony, I think I missed. When would this paving take place?
This for everything but Castle Road. This paving is to be done in October. So next month.
Perfect time to do it.
Tony, question on the paving. I don't see it this year in terms of sidewalks, but I know you're working on a sidewalk management plan also. Will we be able to see some improvements in sidewalks next year, maybe?
I think so. It really comes down to how far you can stretch your budget. So we have the sidewalk management plan is in its final draft stage. So it creates kind of a capital plan for us. But the other things involved in that is where are we doing the street paving? So for instance, Castle Road, which may not have been as early on our priority list, but became high on our list because of the utility work that National Grid did. Those sidewalks are extremely bad and rated bad in the analysis that Stantec just did. But, while they may not have been the first project on the list and maybe the second, they might move up to one because if we're going to pave Castle Road, you want to do the sidewalks when you pave it. So there's a lot of coordination with, the paving plan, and then that all layers on top of other underground utility work too. So, where National Grid's going, where we have sewer work, stormwater work, or water work. So the goal is, that's why we did the plan. Certainly, we're going to try to do a certain amount of sidewalks every year. How we're gonna integrate that capital plan into the other plan, is gonna be a task in and of itself too, so. But yeah, we might be going to town meeting instead of asking for $100,000 in borrowing to go towards paving. Maybe we're using some free cash, a little extra money in free cash to go towards sidewalks.
Great. Is the pavement management plan available online for people to look at?
It should be. We've had some issues with the website recently and documents kind of being misplaced. Let me search for it right now.
I only bring that up because if people are interested, when they can expect their street to be paved, a good site to go to is the pavement management plan. It'll give you a sort of a 5-year projection of what we're planning on doing over the next 5 years.
It's on there. So if you just search paving plan in the search box, it'll pop up for you.
Great.
And again, we've had to adjust that a little bit because of the underground utility work that we've done. And then Nahant Road from Spring to Pond actually wasn't in bad condition, but National Grid came in and did that big underground utility work. So we negotiated with them a curb to curb repavement, and they're paying for that portion. So that's why it kind of got moved up on the list. So it's not always.
Just put a disclaimer on it and say it's subject to change, but
Yeah.
You can have a number of water breaks or sewer breaks, whatever that disrupt the road that wasn't on the pavement plan that all of a sudden becomes on the pavement plan.
Yeah.
But people get a good idea of where they stand.
Yep. So that's all I have. Oh, wait.
Citizens Forum.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman. Last week was monumental. We officially submitted our hazard mitigation grant application for $3.5 million to MEMA for the Short Beach Dune rehabilitation project. That was a huge milestone, something that was part of the goals that you put forward for this year. Just getting that application in the door is a big milestone for us. And so please, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we hear good news. I don't have a timeline as to when we'll get a response, but it's officially submitted.
Great news. It'd be a good project for Nahant, obviously. I guess that's kind of understated, but that's raising the dune heights and raising the walkway access points. So go a long way towards preventing flooding into the lowlands area.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Chairman. That's it. I am done now.
Okay. Citizens Forum. Do we have any participants? See anything on it, Tony?
I think Cora's trying to do something.
Is what?
It looked like Cora might have been trying to unmute, but looks like she's gone.
I've got a question about the trash fees. Brendan Baronic Olmsted, 2 Summer Street, Nahant. For there's like some sort of 6 category for if there is special circumstances. How does one apply for that? I'm just curious because I've got a spare floor on my property that basically I'm paying for as 3 units, but it's kind of under construction. So I'm paying for a unit that no one's actually generating trash for.
So you just call the town hall. There's an abatement application form. It might be on the website too, but if you call and speak with Mary Lowe, she can either email it to you, or if you stopped in, you can fill it out live. For something like that, we would check with the building department cross-reference that you have, all the right permits. And then, when the occupancy permit gets issued, that would dictate to us that it's officially, back, available for use of living. So, just stop by the town hall. There's an application there.
All right, I guess the other question with the trash fees, is there any way the town census can be used for, for the appropriating of the trash fees? Because you're talking about number of people in households.
Mark, do you want to answer that one?
I'd love to. Hi, Brendan. You might recall over the years, the town did it that way. It was a fee per household, then per person in the household. And it was a nightmare to administer. There were a lot of problems with it. People would say that, we're gone half the year we're in Florida and half the year we're here or whatever. And we just couldn't administer it that way. We also found that people were saying that, well, my children are not living at home, they're away at school now, so we shouldn't have to pay. They're still on the voters list, so if they say they're not living there anymore, we take them off the voters list because we were told they're not living there. Then they come up and try to vote. It was just a nightmare. It was unmanageable, and I think Tony steered us in the right direction here and getting away from that methodology because it wasn't working.
All right, thank you.
Any other citizens interested? Hello, hello. Motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Seconded.
No further discussion, roll call vote.
Josh Everett, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye. Good night, gentlemen.